So you want a sci-fi book that is alike to a fantasy adventure book. Ancillary Justice by Ann Leckie. This is about a character on a quest for revenge. There is an evil overlord. It is in many ways an odyssey. It shares a lot of tropes with classic fantasy adventure, but approaches them all in really fun and different ways. It is epic in scope and in world building. You're encountering a lot of really fun and creative cultures and societies, different types of settings, of natural environments. This is the book that got me into sci-fi. I was never into sci-fi before I read fantasy. I wasn't interested in sci-fi. And then I read this book and it cracked the genre open for me. And now I read sci-fi all the time. So I cannot recommend this enough. It's also doing a lot of other really interesting things, like the perspective is super interesting. The point of view character is AI that controls multiple bodies, which means that the character can be in multiple places, doing multiple things, having multiple conversations, all at the same time. And we're seeing these simultaneously, which is just such a different perspective. And it makes for such a different and interesting reading experience. There's also an interesting approach to gender, where one of the cultures, the main culture in this series, has no concept of different genders or even different sexes. They just use she, her pronouns for everybody, which is really cool. I know we're seeing more and more sci-fi these days that grapples with gender, but this is one of the really early books that was doing it in the mid-2010s. I think this came out in 2013. And it is really in conversation with a lot of classic sci-fi wherein everybody is a man and the assumption upon meeting anybody is that they're he, him. And especially I think it's in conversation with Ursula K. Le Guin's The Left Hand of Darkness, wherein there is also a culture that has no differentiated sex or gender, but the narrative defaults to he/him for everybody. So yeah, lots of really interesting stuff going on, but it is also this really fun revenge quest. Cannot recommend it enough.